This morning, our focus is one of Nigeria's most pressing national security challenges, kidnapping for ransom, which has grown into what experts now describe as a billion-naira industry. Now, a new report by SBM Intelligence paints a disturbing picture. Between July 2024 and June 2025, at least 4,722 Nigerians were abducted in 997 separate incidents across the country. Within that period, kidnappers demanded an astonishing 48 billion naira in ransom and eventually collected 2.57 billion naira, about 30% of what they asked for. Yet, tragically, paying ransom was not always enough to guarantee survival. At least 762 victims were killed, including 32 who were murdered even after families paid the demand sums. The report also shows how organized this criminal economy has become. Boko Haram and other extremist groups reportedly took the largest share of ransom payments, using the proceeds to buy weapons, recruit fighters, and sustain terrorist operations. Now, in some mass abductions, victims were forced to work on farms and mines run by bandits, blurring the line between crime, insurgency, and a parallel illicit economy. The Northwest region remains the epicenter of these crises. Zamfara recorded over 1,200 kidnapped victims. Katsina had the highest number of incidents at 131, while Kaduna reported 629 victims. Together, these three states alone accounted for nearly half of all abductions nationwide. Now, religious figures were also highly targeted, with at least 17 Catholic priests abducted and, in some tragic cases, murdered even after ransoms were paid. But beyond the human toll, the economic cost of banditry is staggering. Farmers in high-risk regions are abandoning their fields, worsening food insecurity. Schools in many communities remain closed, leaving millions of children out of classrooms. Businesses, particularly in the north, have either shut down or relocated. Now, analysts estimate that Nigerian losses over $9 billion annually to banditry through ransom payments, disrupted food production, declining investment, and reduced economic activity. This crisis has become not just a security issue, but an entrenched economic model, one that thrives on weak institutions, poverty, and fear. The big question this morning is, why has kidnapping for ransom become so lucrative, and why has government struggled to dismantle it despite years of promises and billions allocated to security? To help us unpack the security and economic dimensions of this problem, we're joined by our guest, Nurudeen Hammanyero, public affairs commentator and security expert. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, let's dive right in. So the SBM intelligence report shows that 48 billion naira demanded and 2.57 billion naira paid in ransom in 1 year. Now, from your perspective, what does this tell us about the skill and organization of Nigerians kidnapped for ransom industry?
First of all, before we give you my take on this, I think it's good we correct the facts regarding what was demanded, what was paid, because giving this kind of analysis to people sends two signals: good signal and bad signal. Good signal in the hope that is there an expectation that there is some level of success recorded by the security organizations in their course of fighting this insurgency and banditry. The bad signal is how it is devastating our economy. Is there hope in any way, or hope is lost completely? Now, when 48 billion naira is demanded and 2.56 billion naira is, was paid, it's not 30%, it's 5.3%. Now, thereabout, between 5 to 5.5%. Now, if that money was paid, when you hear it and you begin to blanket the whole thing, when you hear the word billion, it gives you, it shocks you, even as bad as our currency is. This money paid to bandits. First of all, where are they taking it to? How do they utilize this money? Where do they keep it? What do they use it for? And this money was, if we look at the scores, I like the part that you're mentioning areas that were mostly affected. And if you take the Northwest as a case study, which is the most ravaged area by bandit, and we all agree it has taken up to more than 50% of the affected victims. If you look at it, about 2,400 to 500 thereabout of the numbers, which is more than the 50%. Look at how much was paid in the entire Northwest, despite the number of incidences and the victim. The monies are not up to, I think in Zamfara, about 700 or something million. Put together, is about less than 1.5 billion. And when you take the number of incidents and you look at the victims and you look at monies paid, it will begin to tell you reason why most of these people are into banditry. Because if you take the average, it's just about 280,000 naira thereabout. And today, we know what 280,000 stands as Nigerians. This is just money you take to the market, buy a bag of rice. If you are in the city, fill up your gas cylinder, buy some kilos of meat, and maybe reserve some stipends in your pocket for transportation. The money is finished. So does that mean in the Northwest now, banditry has become a business for survival? It looks like that. Because people who are doing it, it seems they are not doing it to make money or to get some big cash for investment or to settle worst case scenario political scores or rivalry in any way. It means it's like a means of survival. That's what this data is portraying. And what are our governors doing? Because the National Security Advisor, based on the report released, almost 50 bandits, more than 50 bandits, major kingpins were killed within the period of this administration. And then not just the head of the bandits, but their deputy commanders were killed, their foot soldiers were killed. It means they have really been, fought to a level that banditry too is not, they are not really enjoying it. Those that are doing the banditry, they are not really enjoying it. And if you have killed commanders and deputy commanders and foot soldiers in the bandit enclave, you've recorded that success, but what happened to their sponsors? Because this is, for me, I think this is the root cause that the government should be looking at. If you get a criminal and deal with him, he doesn't know how to import arms. Perhaps an illiterate who has not gone to school, or even if he has gone to school, not to the level that he is much educated and knows how to transact offshore. Now, there's somebody who supplies him arms. Is it directly? Is it indirectly? Then who are those people in the pipeline that handles the most sophisticated aspect of this banditry, which is the supply of arms and ammunition? Because we are dealing with one aspect. Yes, people are crying. The government, in a way, is celebrating the data. But the poor man is saying, me and you Nigerians, we are saying we have not seen much. Because the sponsor is left alone.
All right, not to cut you short, talking about sponsors as you did, we've always heard that there are people behind, there are people bankrolling, these insurgencies, these terrorism attacks. But then the question is Nigeria, should I say, in a position to be able to track, the paper trail when it comes to these kind of activities, for it to be nipped at the bud when it comes to it?
I listened to your last caller. And he said if Malami knew who some of the sponsors were and could not do anything, and today he is one of the frontliners who wants to contest for governorship in his state and is and is in a coalition to unseat the government of the day. So what are we talking about? So the fact here is this. We have a security agency, I mean, the architecture itself, combining all the security architecture segments. We have a government, subnational and nationals. We have deliberate effort by the government at any given time, trying to do and that is why we are looking at the data of the National Security Advisor, because if they have killed this number of bandits and terrorists, about 13,000 or thereabout terrorists in the Northeast alone, and still this thing is happening, I think the government needs to do more than just handling the perpetrators, but look at their sponsors. And we've had in the past government, the Buhari administration, that came with the promise of exposing who Boko Haram sponsors were, the corrupt Nigerians were going to be exposed, and all of us were waiting every day on the screen, listening to the news, looking out at the newspapers, waiting to see what the government will do. But at the end, we've just seen a number of people arrested, even judges. Judges were arrested at some point but released. But today, we have cases in this country that you see somebody who ordinarily in a sane society should not be walking the street because he has wrecked the nation. He has taken so much so that he doesn't even know what to do with it illegally, but is being glorified. So I think the effort has to come from not just the government. People need to be asking questions. Religious leaders, we are a society that encompasses so many things. Religious leaders need to be speaking. And hopefully, with these deliberate efforts, and the government too, because if there is no Nigeria, there will not be any part of Nigeria. So if we have one area, and just like, I want to go back a little, because I like to make a case and compare what is happening in the Northwest and the Southwest, which is going to be of advantage if truly we want to fight banditry in the northern Nigeria, because this is the most affected part of the country with banditry. The Amotekun, that was a conception of the former governor, Akeredolu, who rallies the governors in the Southwest, and brought about this regional security. Today, I saw the United Nations identifying with Amotekun. The success rate of Amotekun, number of conflicts they have resolved between farmers and herders, arrests they have made on crimes, and the success rate that has gone more than 70%, success rate for Amotekun.
So do you think that is a solution that needs to be looked at?
Of course, because we need a regional security in the northern Nigeria. And that was something the former governor of Kaduna State was trying to do, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. He tried during his own time to rally his northwestern governors to see how they will address this. So if this effort will be sustained, not just sustained, will be upgraded, and then looked at deliberately with aggression, and bring about a regional security in the Northwest so that the government will as well support it, because these are our people. When you hear the cases of foreigners coming from Mali to do it because we share borders with Niger and Chad and the rest, you ask yourself, okay, have the security, the army, the joint security operation, the police, the army and the rest, they have made number of arrests, they have killed scores of these guys. How many are carrying that identity? So is it just a political thing that some people deliberately want these things to remain because they use it as an avenue to settle their scores politically with their opponents? Is it an effort? So you begin to ask yourself all these questions. So I think the northwestern Nigeria, or the northern Nigeria as a region, or in its own sub-region, because the northwest is affected the most, should come up with a regional security, just like the southwest, because it has worked. What has worked for Mr. A should work for Mr. B, because we are in Nigeria. Yes, there will be some variations in the manner of the way it will be mapped out and executed, but certainly it will work, because The soldiers in Amotekun are Yorubas, majority. The people orchestrating this crime are Yorubas before the existence of Amotekun. And since Amotekun came to be, they fought these guys to a level that today they are scored over 70%. So it means I know my brother in Zamfara State who is a kidnapper, but I'm afraid to talk because I don't have any form of backup. Before I could call the police to come to my rescue, damages will be done. What if we have a regional security? There is a nearby station within my area that I can call, not just the police. I can talk to them. Perhaps one of them is even related to the kidnapper. And he knows they know how to get him through his family, through his friends, through his allies. He can be reached at any given time. Then it will help. But in a situation where you take a military man from the northeastern Nigeria and take him to the northwest in Zamfara State, in the dark corners of Zamfara State, and you want him to fight in Zurmi, for example, you want him to go and fight bandits in Zurmi. How does he do that? Yes, he will be given some information. These are just data that may or may not work. But what if he's somebody that is deliberately chosen from the area? He knows the place, the terrain very well, and the mode of selection is based on competency and his own passion to see that his area is secured because he wants to return to farm. He wants to see his dad goes back to farm. He wants to see his children goes back to school. He wants to be going to the market every day like other people. He wants to see their economy grow. Then, if that happens, we will see some level of success around banditry. But so long as it's the military, okay, imagine Turji threatening Buratai. There was a threat from Turji that even if it is Buratai's father that comes to his area, he will deal with him. Because he knows they don't know anything about him. But a member House of Representative, former member House of Representative from Sokoto State, Honorable Shoaibu Gondu Gobir, made a statement. It's online, you can look at it. He said he knows where they live. In fact, sizably, he knows their number. He is daring the government to support him with every mechanism. He would direct the security forces down to where these guys are. If truly the government wants to fight insurgency. That was a statement.
All right. Oh, go ahead. All right. So you would see how the kidnappings have become incessant, the insurgency, the terrorism, because we would call it terrorism, the terrorizing people out of their homes, out of their farms. So is it due to the fact that there is so much poverty, in Nigeria? Is it weak governance? Is it corruption? Or is it, these whispers that we hear that there are external forces, inciting all of this unsettled situations, especially in Zamfara, in Katsina, in around Sokoto, due to the fact that there are, natural resources that are there that are, trying to, be taken without any form of lording over, should I say, from the government, from, or any person that is responsible for that. So do you think it's a combination of that, or there are specifics when it comes to it?
It's a combination of all. Because if you want to open up banditry or any form of, this insecurity, you don't just look at one thing. Because while we had issues around militancy in the South, that today you can comfortably position them as the richest region in the country. Because Delta, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers combined are richer than any other part of the country. Why we had issues of militancy was because the government seems not to care about the region. Monies were taken out of the region, whether legally through IOCs, that's oil companies, or illegally. And they felt we had a lot of things bothering us, disturbing our people, and you seems not to care. So what do? They pick up arms and begin to fight, kill security agencies, every day fighting the oil companies, and eventually there were solutions around it. President Olusegun Obasanjo came up with the Ministry of Niger, the Niger Delta Development Commission. Yar'Adua supported it with the Ministry of Niger Delta. And again, this government, to sustain that effort, despite the NDDC that you can equate with other regional commissions, still added South-South Development Commission. These are efforts. And today, look at it. Of this amount demanded for the ransom, about 48 billion. Do you know that 30 billion based on this same record was coming only from Delta on between 40 to 50 episodes? But what was the monies paid? Monies paid was, you can just put it around 50 million. It means, yes, the effort by the government to address that challenges of the people, is not yet done, because till date, we have cases of, dissatisfaction from the people of Niger Delta with respect to what is taken and what is given back to them. But where I am not happy with federal government anytime, and based on the information we are hearing now, Tom Polo, who was a militant, who has repented, was rewarded with a contract to secure pipeline. In his record, there were times he killed. In his record, there were times he kidnapped. In his record, there were times he sent out oil companies. So you can charge him of subversion, of sabotage, of anything around insecurity. But it ended up with a reward. We had the NSCDC, which was on their mandate mainly is to secure national asset. We have the Nigerian Navy, whose mandate is to secure our waterways. All these things put together were not considered enough. We have the Marine Police. We have the amphibious in the army. That's a component. All these are security forces trained purposely for this kind of work, but the government has not seen anybody to have given contract to secure pipeline. Now, the same information is brewing on our airspace about what is happening in the Northwest. Cases of, because if you look at it, illegal mining here and there, today this community, because that's why you usually have not one or two people being kidnapped, because people will just come with their rights, about 200 of them, cycle or form a semicircle around the village, send everybody away, kill the ones they can kill. As soon as those people move, somebody will come and settle and start mining. So who is giving that information that there are deposits of these mineral resources? Where is these things coming from? Now, if these things are happening, and somebody is now saying the same criminals whom have killed, kidnapped, just equate it with what has happened in the Niger Delta, will one day be rewarded with the security, because already they have rewarded themselves to secure those areas in their own way. Because now if you want to go and mine, you must find yourself on a table discussing with Turji, possibly, and other kingpins to guarantee safety so that you mine whatever and pay your royalty. You may likely find yourself in that position. So is it that there are people deliberately, because I once said it in this same studio, people who want insurgency and militancy and terrorism to continue, likely are stronger than the government? Because I don't see any reason why we have an army. Yes, there's a lot to talk about this, a lot to unpack. Because if you look at the military now, this government is making an effort now to recruit about 100,000 in the armed forces. It's not yet done, because there is shortage of manpower. There is inadequate firepower. A lot you can look at in that angle. But even with the little resources we are talking about, ask yourself, I will make reference again to your last caller who said if Imo State governor will pay 104,000 as minimum wage. Why are governors in the northern Nigeria still struggling to pay 30,000 naira? Are they not being paid? In fact, based on this same record we are talking about, the southeastern Nigeria is one of the least in terms of ransom.
All right, then we don't have enough time, but I just want to hear from you. The Tinubu-led administration emphasized, on security as a top priority. Now, based on the, I would love to hear from you. Do you think that this government has done enough to tackle the insecurity issues that we have in Nigeria presently, being that it was one of, the promises that this administration gave to Nigerians when coming into office?
Yes, based on the record, and is what we have just finished looking at. 2 years, 13,000 terrorists, 50 to 100 major kingpins, 70 to 100 deputy commanders, thousands of foot soldiers. All these are success in terms of security. Ordinarily, I will tell you, is enough for people to go back to their farms. It's enough for schools that were shut down to open. But this is on one end. And this fight has to be on both ends. The national effort and the effort from the subnationals. The governors have not done much to have complemented the federal government effort to guarantee this success we are talking about. Because if the federal government has done this, and then within your own small effort, yes, we know security is a federal government thing. But as a state governor, you want to see your state prosper. You receive allocation. You can as well, if you are not having collaboration from other regional players around you, you can just set up your own because you have that power. You can set up a mini security architecture within the state to support the police and those are vigilantes within your own state. So we need to be seeing state governors live up to expectation to support what the federal government is doing. Otherwise, no matter what the federal government does, we are not going to see any results.
So what is the way forward? The
way forward is state governors should live up to expectation. They receive a lot of money. They should be conscious and also invite. There is nothing wrong with, and I just told you that it has worked for Mr. A. There is nothing wrong with the Northwestern guys do an inter-regional security summit with the Southwest to explore that option. Invite the governors, meet in a state like Kaduna State or Zamfara, just like the way to rescue PDP, the PDP governors met in Zamfara State. This is political. In security, without security, even the politics will not exist. So they should come together, invite these guys and look at the option. How do we bring about this your model in our region, and perhaps we will get the same success we are getting.
Thank you very much. Nurudeen Hammanyero, public affairs commentator and security expert. Thank you for coming into the studio to help us unpack such a very interesting topic today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here
so much. And that is all we have for you on our discussion segment.